The Cadillac XT5, the successor of the SRX, still Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We're going to take a detailed look on the exterior, interior and the driving. Still an old school V6 on the hood. Well, let's see how that plays out. And a special episode, of course, for our friends over in the US. But also Cadillac is trying to approach the European market more and more, and the compact SUV could indeed be a solution, as this is one of the most surging markets at the moment. So how will it also compare to the German premium manufacturers? Because we've driven all those vehicles, we will give it, of course, as any vehicle, again, a very fair chance and see how that plays out. It will be very interesting, I can promise you. So join us now in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front you can find a strong American front grille, and what I find quite neat is they use this symmetric form. You can see this in the middle, it's split and then this goes symmetrical to both ways, very interesting. Also unique that you got those vertical layout of the headlights which lead over to the fog lights. So something pretty unique in the compact segment, especially if you compare it to the competitors. How do you like it? 4.82 meters or 15'8" is the total length of this vehicle. It means for European comparison, that is a pretty long compact SUV and the transition to the full-size SUV. In the US, however, this is, rather a small compact SUV. I mean, I've been in the States lately and so many huge SUVs that you can really consider this one here not as a big one. But that's also maybe the reason why it can succeed on the European market. 20-inch rims we have been using here, so this one is the platinum version, so the top trim level. I will tell you more about the differences also in the interior. In the exterior it's more really about the rims. 18-inch it starts in the entry version. Nice Cadillac logo here also on the side. And then the rest of the side profile is rather conservative. Got this sharp ending right here. The roofline stays relatively straight. Chrome frame, I like that. Not really a fan of this grey color. I would prefer a really bright one. And then we also, have a rather angular shape in the rear, but that's of course promising also a lot of room in the interior. A unique design also in the rear, and you can see this design idea of the symmetry right here again, so very interesting. Also the taillights, you see they begin at the side of the car and also vertically drawn. So I like this overall unique design of the vehicle. Do you as well? Pricing, by the way, starts at $39,000 in the US and $49,000 in Germany, but then again German prices include VAT or Mehrwertsteuer, and the US prices exclude that because they are different from the federal states to the other. And this platinum version, this top version, can surely go way above that. You have to add about $13,000 to get all the features, especially in the interior. You can also find the symmetry here at the key, nicely done. And there's also the keyless entry if you press the button here, for example, or if you just open the car. But at the moment we already have the ignition turned on, therefore it's not working. That you can also see how the instruments and so look like. And you also hear this very annoying beeping sound that happens when you have the ignition turned on. Then it stops, but it's really, really loud. Interesting here. Wood is used, very beautiful here, old school style, yes, but I think beautiful. In combination with, well, I think on the doors and dashboard it should be leather red, I think so. And also interesting is this button right here to open the hatch. We also know that from Opel or Vauxhall cars. And you can here, for example, also adjust if the hatch, the rear hatch should open to 3/4 or to the full extent. and then you can also adjust it very precisely at the hatch as well. The entry version in the US comes with leatherette seats. That could be a good solution and also a sustainable one. In Europe, however, and also in the higher trim levels in US, you only get the animal skin seats. That's a disadvantage. They look good in this bright trim, but you see also they get some stains. But again, not sustainable, of course. And the combination of the bright wood and the bright animal skin visually wise looks very good, but again you could also do this from the full leatherette. Also you've got a bright dashboard that looks fancy, but again could create some glare effects for sure. Then let's get inside. Upright seating position, as we know from a SUV, so that's basically very comfortable also for tall people. You can electrically adjust the seats in so many different directions. This is the lumbar support here in that area. Also the steering wheel can be adjusted electrically here in this platinum version, the highest trim, which again I said would not recommend because you have a better price performance in the lower trims. And then you can also go for the leatherette here. That's a feature I would probably do go for. You can activate the heated steering wheel. That's one of my favorite features. And this colorful Cadillac logo also on the steering wheel. Again, also the symmetry design is matched right here. You can already see that. Wow, nice start up for the instruments if you start the engine. And digital informations here, for example, the fuel status. Everything else is rather manual, and in the middle one you can also check the trip for consumption and stuff. Cockpit overview, wow, a bright welcome. I love that Alcantara surface here on the dashboard. They should have used that more. Then the infotainment screen, as you see, is aligned and really reminds us of current Opel models. However, you already see that the software looks a little bit outdated. So more details to that. Below that, the climate unit with some space below. Then we got this somewhat strange, a little bit loose sliding mechanism for the beverage holders. The driving stick is not the best solution because for the reverse gear you have to do like this to the front and to the left. That could have been definitely a more handy solution. Then the glove box, this one is very spacious, so a lot of stuff can be fitted right in there. Overall, I think, yeah, a classic American layout, American luxury layout for the car, and I mean, it will surely have some fans. There's also a hidden space beneath here, and again with the 12-volt power supply. It's actually, you can put some stuff here, but you have to reach for it somehow. Better maybe for the co-driver. Armrest cover is properly attached. 2 USB ports and some more space right there. The climate unit's pretty interesting. Here you can adjust the temperatures. The seat heating, this is, well, it's not really a button, but it's also not fully capacitive. You could press it just a little bit. It's a mix, I would say. Also seat vents are possible. They don't stick to the seats, but obviously not both work at the same time. In some vehicles it does. Then to the infotainment screen. There you have it, again with this aligned structure. This is the warning indicator, and funny thing, I always thought it would be mandatory to have this one as a real button, but that might be the German or European regulation. And I've also read in the papers of this vehicle that this vehicle here, as it does only come in small numbers from the US, has a special allowance to be registered here. That might have something to do with that. Then the infotainment screen right here. You see the infotainment screen. You can scroll in it like with a smartphone. That's possible. The visualization is rather simply, but does its job. It looks not that up to date from the visual appearance. This is the climate screen if you want to use it for over the infotainment screen. Telephone connect could be via Bluetooth. That would be possible, for example. Then here, let's go to the sound settings. There you can also check the media and play your music for example. And here is the home button screen. This is really a capacitive one. So then you get to the main menu where you have this app view. You can also control the climate function in the rear in this Platinum version. And the camera, this is our tripod, for example, the rear view camera with a very poor solution. I think you do also see that. And also here in the fake drone view from above, it's good to have it. It's not properly cut out. What is interesting that when you drive backwards and there's some obstacle approaching, then you get a vibration in your seat to warn you. That's an interesting approach. A huge panoramic roof is available with this sunshade, and that seems pretty sick. That should also protect really against hot temperatures. And you can also open this one here. And well, it's quite wide. So good for nice summertime when it's not too hot. So leaves a lot of air and also brightness into the interior. I really like that. Head-up display with a good resolution, and also a good solution because you can also easily adjust it, for example, in the height. There you see it, and it gives you a very clear display of all the information you could possibly have in there. You can also switch which information, for example, also RPM, you really want to have in there. Let's get to the rear compartment. I got the seat as I would be driving, 1.86 m or 6'1". And indeed, when you have the panoramic roof mounted, it's getting quite close for tall people. You see it right here, I hit the ceiling with my head. So that would work until I think 180 or 6 foot, maybe 5'9". If you can leave the panoramic roof out, that would be a possibility to better fit tall people in the rear. Also, knee room wise, there's still some room left. Then again, it's already a long vehicle, so the package, so-called package, you know, the length comparison then to what you have on the interior, it's not really, you know, the best feature about this car. However, what's quite nice is that we have 2 USB ports here also in the rear and also a real power socket, so it's 230 volts. Very interesting that you can not only flip the middle part, there's a ski hatch. What I found more interesting is when you flip the seats from here, see the lower part goes forward and also down. That's a clever solution to form also a very even ground to the boot compartment, and also top tethers available and Isofix covers, so 2 child seats can be very well mounted on the outer seats. Here you can also see the rear view camera, by the way, 2 also for this 360 view. Then we can open the hatch. It takes quite a time, and negative aspect is here that this cover here is without roof, not roof, but just rails, without rails on the side, so it's really wobbly. Not the best quality then. However, well, space-wise, here, well, the floor is quite high, as we also have the replacement tire there, so you're limited in height, but the width is quite okay. And also a handy solution to flip the seats. You can just do it from here, and then you have good possibility to load things through. This you can also get here, this equipment to to split the trunk. So overall, good solutions here. And do you have to have any worries about the children that maybe get caught in the electric hatch? Yeah, that's, I think, quite okay. So it does react in time and doesn't hurt you. Proved. So what's to be found here? 3.6 liter V6, 314 horsepower, 7.5 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 62 miles an hour. And the consumption so far in the test was about 13 liters. Of course, that should be lower, but the vehicle is relatively heavy. That's the reason for that. And for Chinese customers, there's also a 2-liter turbo available with 250 horsepower. It has to do with the regulations on those markets. But mainly you will just drive this engine, and it's pretty uncommon for a European market. Let's see how this one will perform. Hey there, this is the driving part. And we'll focus, of course, on the 3.6 liter V6 engine. pretty unusual for a compact SUV in Germany. In the US it is basically common, but in Europe we hardly get those engines, the naturally aspirated ones, a lot of cylinders, big displacement. That's not up to date anymore, but the question is different if they still make sense. And sometimes they don't consume so much less fuel. Of course, we have this sovereign acceleration with that one here. That means you don't get the turbo kick, but it's a more very harmonic acceleration. If I'm going in the normal mode here now and hammer throttle, it's no sound, not too loud though, and as I said, a very sovereign harmonic acceleration, and that's, whoa, that was pretty fast. Not loud here at the moment. Got that all on camera, man. What the hell? Oh, so that guy crossed the Autobahn now from the far left lane, 1, 2, 3 to the right, over a crossed line. I think if some police would have seen that, losing the driver's license immediately, and in this case, justified. So back to our V6. When it's rolling, it's really silent and doesn't have the biggest growling sound. Sound insulation here on the Autobahn is, fairly good. We have experienced compact SUVs with a better sound insulation. In this case, the German premium manufacturers have, better experience with the sound insulation. However, it's not that negative. Also, stability at higher speeds is fairly good. So it's also a difference if you think about, all those very big American SUVs. If you think about, a suburban or a Tahoe, something like that in those regions, really huge SUVs. This one here is still a compact one, and thus also suitable for the European market. However, in the compact SUV segment, it's one of the bigger ones among, for example, Volvo XC60. And do you feel that? Well, when sitting in the front, you don't have the impression that it would be a huge SUV. However, you do already have the upright seating position, which I really appreciate as a rather tall driver. So I don't get, lower back pain, for example, on longer drives. I don't think that ever happened to me in an SUV, besides the Audi RSQ3. Because of those sport seats, they were really uncomfortable. But that was the only SUV that ever gave me some lower back pain. The others were perfectly fine, as it is right here. Visibility, there you see to the rear that the car is indeed over 4.80 meters long. So you realize that. View to the sides is pretty good because the windows are also rather upright. I really love the bright dashboard color, but when I'm riding here, today it's not that sunny, so it doesn't play the biggest effect, but I here already see that you got some glare effect in the windscreen from the bright dashboard. So I love bright interiors, but best thing is when the lower part is kept bright and the upper part is kept black. That is then against the reflections you have, for sure. So a very comfortable ride here inside the city. The suspension is also rather soft, and for an SUV that's also perfectly fine. So we're approaching now the part where they often install some speed cameras, and we don't want to be caught on that camera, just want to be caught on that camera. That's the most important part. So changing lanes. So really satisfied with the car here inside the city. It also doesn't feel too big. About parking situation, I told you earlier in the interior part. Sometimes you have to, be careful, but there's no beeping sound. But the system with the vibrating seat, it was pretty interesting as well. We soon also get to a part where we can hammer the throttle a little bit more and then get some more of this performance. The figure is 7.5 seconds, 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles an hour in the acceleration. And consumption-wise, sometimes the bigger engines do not consume much more fuel than the smaller engines. I mean, recently we had this Lexus no, not the R3F, but the same engine, the GSF. And there, for example, we had 12 liters of consumption. Here, the V6, we're at 13 liters per 100 kilometers. And for calculating in MPG, just hit the Google 13 liter / 100 kilometer in 100 km in MPG, then you will see it. And that should be better actually. The reason for that is that this vehicle is rather heavy, so depending on the engine up to almost 2 tons, and that also explains it. So some acceleration in between, 50 to 70, let's go. That's it, 77 already. So that does come quite well, and again this feeling that the engine is not really exaggerating, it's keeping rather calm, and that is due to the big displacement you can really use in this case. We also got a cruise control in here, which is an adaptive one, ACC. You can set it here at the steering wheel, also decrease or increase the speed, and then basically just relax. Depends on, of course, when the AC is stopping. Let's see if we can try that out at another point, if that goes really until 0. In the Lexus it didn't really work. It stopped at about 40, I think, and then you had to brake on your own. That's not really suitable. It's cold again outside, by the way, as you've seen earlier, and therefore I'm also using the heated steering wheel, and that's really a very nice feature. So keeping your hands warm, that also makes you very well maneuverable. So no one is behind me, therefore I can also do some jokes. So the steering for a compact SUV that is rather compact is relatively direct. It feels a little bit artificial, a little bit as in an arcade game style. So it feels electric, let's take it that way. But it's also fun to steer that vehicle around the corners. And that might also be a reason why it works maybe on the European market, because it's agile enough. Next acceleration, 70 kilometers to 100, and we can also have different driving modes. So, for example, Tour, AVD, and Sport. And let's do that in Sport to see. I have to press the button quite hard. Let's do it in Sport to see how the acceleration behaves in the Sport mode. So 70 to 100, let's go. Up. That went well, and what you've maybe realized here in the Sport mode, that the RPMs turned up higher. So that's the basic difference, and also the car shifts up later. So that might be useful if you want to do some overtaking maneuvers on the motorway, but you'll also be just fine in the normal modes. The AVD mode, AWD, sorry. So in German you tend to say AVD because we say AWD in German for the all-wheel drive. So the AWD mode, this is you can activate that if you really want to be certain in off-road situation that all 4 wheels apply power to the ground. Because other than that, if you're in the normal tour mode, the vehicle also decides by itself, if all 4 wheels are really applied, and it's more, on demand. And said earlier, the all-wheel drive is also an optional feature for this vehicle. So we get off the motorway now. So motorway stability and comfort also is given. And so far, I think really a competitive model in the compact SUV segment. See how stable it is here now in the corner. That works well. Also due to the rather direct steering. I would say it's a small, sporty feeling. Can say that, yeah, indeed. Overview here is also good. I can see where everyone is. It's at the moment in the right side mirror. I also see the blind spot detection. That is a small yellow car then together with a star that is shown. have seen a couple of our reviews, and one of the most interesting safety features for sure. And the good thing about this vehicle is most of the safety features come from the standard equipment. At least in Europe, it has something to do with that you do not get the very, very base entry trim level with, you know, the obvious negative sides. In Europe at least, therefore most stuff is already included. And so list price wise, this vehicle is at the same price, and the German manufacturers have their compact SUVs, but then already with more stuff included. On the other hand, you get less good leasing deals from Cadillac, for example, because German manufacturers, especially in Europe, say, oh, let's put like 20,000 units from this vehicle on the road, work together with our great dealers, and then they have attractive leasing conditions that might outrule the disadvantage in the list price. That's always to consider here as well. But however, in the US, you know, the US built cars are always cheaper than abroad. So this might be the advantage than the other way around for sure. If you're driving a Cadillac XT5, then of course share your experience with us. Always looking forward to that. Because the best is really to give feedback or have experience from someone that really was driving the car for quite a long time, and then you can also find out very important stuff, you know, others can then again profit from. If you want to change the temperature, by the way, while driving, you have those capacitive buttons on, for example, for the seat heating, and sometimes you know, well, they are half capacitive, half buttons, something in between, let's say it that way. You do get feedback from the floor beneath that, but sometimes they're not really, you know, real thick buttons. Basically, you can get used to it, so controlling the temperature here while driving is also actually no problem. Also the GPS screen is well integrated to look at it while driving. Also no problems with glare effect, for example. Yeah, so I mean, from the driving part, consumption is of course too high. You know, maybe that's better with a smaller turbo engine you can get, maybe, but maybe also not, because and that's all only in China because of those they have this displacement tax rule. Therefore, also a lot of the manufacturers offer 2-liter turbos for very big cars. But that's by the way the traffic announcement that comes automatically. You can also switch that off. So yeah, consumption should be lower, I think. Suspension-wise, also the competitors are a little bit farther ahead, have a better mix between sportiness and comfort. If there are some holes in the road now, some potholes, you do feel them definitely. So suspension-wise, they could step up the game a little bit. But other than that, we didn't find so many aspects to complain. Also, the head-up display I'm watching at right now is very helpful and has a clear display. I'm seeing my current speed. I'm also seeing the traffic sign assist showing me which speed is allowed at the moment, and also the information to which speed my cruise control is actually set to. And yeah, that again really helps, and I think is definitely a good example of how to integrate technology that really helps the driver. Then last but not least, panoramic windscreen here also leaves light in the car while driving. I also really like that. And as we experienced on the Autobahn, it doesn't increase the noise volume that much, so that was also quite okay. So, that's it for driving. And now the conclusion, Cadillac XT5. Can they succeed on the European market? Well, basically yes, because they do have competitive product with a unique design on the exterior, a unique engine you do not get in the other vehicles, that's for sure. Also the build quality on the interior is generally very good. Infotainment system was not really our favorite one, and also the European versions lack the possibility of including leatherette seats, and that's of course a no-go if you only offer animal skin seats. That's maybe the biggest disadvantage for the European version. So I want to hear your feedback on the car. Let's hear about that. Also what you think about exterior and interior. And maybe if you own such a vehicle, then of course also post your experience and join us again for the next review. Thank you very much.